Having had to experience series of challenges like racial discrimination between the African Americans and the white populace, the event paid tribute to African American soldiers of the 54th Massachusetts Regiment who fought valiantly in the long and bloody Civil War ending slavery in the United States. Now that Americans celebrate their independence, they remember the likes of Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King Jr., and Rosa Parks, whose words inspired them and pushed the evolution of their democracy.
In the arc of history, because of the efforts of these brave heroes and patriots, the right of full participation in public life and full access to our sacred rights has expanded to African Americans, to women, to people of different faiths, to people of different ethnic groups, and now to those of differing sexual orientation.
The relationship between the Gambia and the United States was reiterated at the anniversary, citing religious freedom and tolerance as virtues the two countries share.
Our First Amendment also enshrines freedom of religion. In my year in the Gambia, I have learned that the Gambia is a model, not just for West Africa, but indeed for the entire world.
As the people of the United States reveled in their freedom, they were advised to put the freedom and liberty of all nations into consideration.
End quote. I am hopeful that the government of the United States of America, as it has been doing in the past, will not hesitate to provide assistance to countries facing crises that are detrimental to the promotion of freedom and the recognition of human rights.
The Embassy of the United States of America in Banjul was hailed for playing a pivotal role towards the development agenda of the Gambia.
The efforts of the Peace Corps volunteers is providing quality education to the Gambian populace, and that has gone a long way in enhancing the Gambia's progress in achieving the Millennium Development Goal number 2, universal primary education.
This year's independence anniversary celebrations of the U.S. was also attended by a cross-section of the Gambian society, including former President Sadauda Kairaba Jawara. Famara Fofana, Grts.
Time now to take our first break. We'll be back with news from outside the Gambia. Welcome back. Thousands of pro-Morsi supporters stormed the streets of Cairo demanding the release of ousted President Mohamed Morsi. Egypt is the world's most populous Arab nation and a close ally of the United States. And as CNN's Ben Widerman finds out, this latest episode in Egyptian politics is generating a whole new anti-American sentiment from young people for Washington's perceived apathy towards events unfolding in their country.
Egyptian jets put on an air show for the crowd below. Jubilant that once again they've brought down the second president in less than 3 years. The atmosphere in Tahrir Square is festive, triumphant. But amidst the celebrations, there's an undercurrent of resentment towards the United States, which has been harshly criticized for its dealings with the Muslim Brotherhood-led government of now deposed President Mohamed Morsi. America, keep your hands off Egypt, reads this sign, which describes the U.S. as the patron of terrorism. Obama is interfering in our affairs, says Hassan. Elsewhere, the U.S. was accused of supporting a fascist, terrorist regime. For the U.S., perhaps it was simply realpolitik, but for blogger Mahmoud Salem, it was just wrong politik.
Why are they talking to the people who are demanding the release of Omar Abdulrahman, who has attacked the World Trade Center in 1990? What are you guys talking about? How does this make sense?
For a superpower that preaches democracy, the impression here is when it comes to a choice between stability and lofty ideals, the former trumps the latter, says activist Wael Iskander.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what they're looking for, stability. Democracy is just rhetoric, unfortunately for Americans who've preached it.
The widespread belief the U.S. was in bed with the Brotherhood is mistaken, says author Ashraf Khalil.
The Americans aren't pro-Brotherhood. The Americans are pro-stability. They're anti-instability. The American government sees an elected president possibly going down in flames non-democratically 1 year into his term. That's going to be something that concerns them. It doesn't make them Brotherhood sympathizers.
A year ago, Mohamed Morsi came to power after winning 52% of the vote. But a year is a very long time in politics, and in revolutionary Egypt, his popularity plummeted against a backdrop of a declining economy, fuel and power shortages, and rising fears Morsi was embarking on a project to turn Egypt into an Islamic state. He's now under house arrest, and arrest warrants have been issued for hundreds of Muslim Brotherhood officials, and that seems to suit most people here.
It was only normal for the United States to deal with Egypt's first ever democratically elected president. But as these women are telling me, they may not have realized quite how unpopular he had become.
In just days, Morsi went from being president to prisoner. A lesson, perhaps, that there can be no such thing as diplomacy as normal in this brave new Egypt. Ben Wiedemann, CNN, Cairo.
Time now to take a second break. Stay tuned. And before we draw the curtains on this edition of the news, just to remind the general public that in preparation for the holy month of Ramadan, the general public is hereby informed that the highly anticipated musical jamboree, which was supposed to be staged this evening at the July 22nd Square, has been cancelled. Accordingly, the general public is being informed about the Quranic recitations, azan and zikr competition at State House grounds this evening. On behalf of our transmission production crew, Grts wishes its audience Ramadan Mubarak. And before we end this edition of the news, a quick reminder of our headlines. The highly anticipated musical jamboree, which was supposed to be held this evening at the July 22nd Square, has been cancelled in preparation for the holy month of Ramadan. President Jammeh is to host a Quranic recitation, azan and zikr competition at the State House grounds this evening. The Vice President and Minister of Women's Affairs, Dr. Esther Njai Saidi, recently joined 2 female presidents and several First Ladies in the Nigerian capital, Abuja, to review and identify strategies to accelerate key post-2015 development issues. Feeling the backlash in the streets of Cairo, thousands of pro-Morsi supporters have been showing their disapproval of the Obama administration's laid-back response to the coup that unseated the country's first ever democratically elected president. That's all in this edition of the news. Thank you very much for your time. Enjoy the rest of our programs.